Scan Harbor in East Harlem reaches out to young people and families and parents like this who are struggling, and then provides them with positive opportunities, programs, hope.
Scan started in 1977, but some of the things that they did, now we look back, it's like Scan stood for Suspected Child Abuse and Neglect. Who wants to go there? Like, that's terrible. But at the time, in that culture, you know, they were doing a good thing, and that's what a good thing looked like then. It was culturally insensitive when the people had the best intentions. And so when we came, my mom, we were in the South Bronx. There's crack, you know, there's a drug epidemic. It's a terrible place. People are selling things, they're selling themselves. And I was a little kid, you know, our apartment was very dirty. We had mice and rats on our bed when we slept sometimes. And, you know, my mom just did her best, but she was struggling. And at some point, ACS or BCW at the time, that was the child welfare people, they came to take us away from my mother. And so she ends up going to family court. Part of her plea deal with the family court was to go to a place called Suspected Child Abuse and Neglect, SCAN. And that's how we got to SCAN. So my initial impressions of SCAN were terrible. This was in 85, 86. I think Lou came in 87, and then it became something different when they hired Lou. It was different. He came with different experience. It became a more mature agency. I'm 12 or 13, I think about this now, and I'd sit in the seat, I'd swirl around, I'd say, one day I'm gonna be the boss of you, how about that? You know, I'd say these things, and I'd be there sitting in his seat, and he just would let me do it.
With Reach for the Stars program, they pushed me really hard to be the best person I am today. They pushed me very hard to use my connections, use all the things that I had, and they pushed me to be the best. As today, I'm 18 years old, and I just graduated from high school. I'm going to the University of Maryland Eastern Shore College. I will be going there to study criminal justice. It would not be possible without them. It made me know what I want to do. Like, it just made me want to go and keep pushing and never stop, because somebody saw the light in me and I didn't see the light in myself. So, yeah.
The name of the program I run is the WISH program, which stands for We, I, She, and Him, which is an inclusive program to help LGBTQ youth, young adults throughout all ages. Lou's been trying to get me to work in this organization for years, and I mean years. Every time he sees me, he's like, "Gee, when are you coming to take a job here?" And I'm like, "I'm coming, Lou, you know." And, you know, we met, and he brought me on board with knowing who I am, what I do for my community, and didn't question me about nothing. All he wanted to do was know my purpose, know how I can get it done, and just let me do what I can do. A lot of kids who are going through family rejection, you know, 16, 15, it's like, how can we provide resources to keep them safe, to make them feel like they're loved and supported, and, you know, really work with the families at that, you know, to teach the families that, how do you accept a person that challenges your faith or challenges your norms, you know, or challenges your existence, right? A part of my mission here that I want to really connect is bringing valuable but life-saving services like HIV testing, STI screening, mental health counseling and therapy, because in New York State, New York City, it's hard to access these services of quality care without being, turned away and facing those barriers. We post like our services online. We promote our events that we do, and it starts to pick up steam. Like our Mix Up Mondays that we started back in March. We started off the first night with 90 brand new kids that came. That never been to our center, and ever since then it's been growing and growing. And this is why programs like such are very important because it's life saving. One thing that I use is dance as, a form of intervention. Because when you're dancing, you're free. There's no thoughts on your mind. You feel liberated, and it's very cathartic where you can just liberate yourself. So I find different ways to work with these different things of self-value, rejection, homophobia, stigma that a lot of these kids may face. A kid may come to one of our spaces and use our Vogue class to really get over his diagnosis or to really get over his homelessness. I wake up every morning and I sacrifice, not because I have to, because I want to, Because people made that sacrifice for me. I was homeless. I've overcome my own substance use. So it happened so frequently, but rejection will always be a part of us until we decide that we don't want it to be no more, until we understand that society is not equipped to deal with our greatness and our beauty.
When I came here first, I came here as just a line worker, as one of the staff group teachers, and I slowly but surely and swiftly climbed the ladder and was able to be admin, assistant director, and now I'm a director. So these things really help mold and motivate me to do the things that I'm doing now and in this position. Because I was one of the kids from this development, and when you have programs like this, it's a big major help. And it was a big major help for me. And I'm so happy that I can now help others the way I felt like I needed help. So had I not have people like Brother George or people like the center or just any type of after school programs or youth programs, I would have totally not had a good example. Not because my mother wasn't willing to show me a good example, but because me personally, my mom has 13 children. So it was just not a lot of space for her to give a good example. It was just a lot of space for her to do what was needed that day for her children. So without these programs, I do believe that I would have been maybe by the wayside, maybe just still out there running the streets at the age of 37 being rough.
New York Freddie was one of the legendary drug dealers, drug kingpins in Harlem. We got in business 1973.
By coincidence, a gentleman that I had known from many, many years ago, New York Freddie Myers, who was one of the major heroin dealers in New York City, if not the major heroin dealer back in the 70s and early 80s. Freddie had just gotten out of prison after serving 24 years, and I said to myself, it would be interesting for the kids to meet him.
And Luke was doing work with the gangs, and he wanted somebody with credibility, street credibility, to speak to them. And so he was introduced to Freddie. And Freddie, Freddie said, well, I want to bring Georgie with me.
Georgie started talking about his drug addiction and how that destroyed his life. When Georgie finishes with his story, which was very poignant and sad, and the kids were sort of subdued, I even said a little bit about my life, which I had never done before, because I thought now was the appropriate time for me to jump in there. We're just listening to our stories. Each of us sharing those moments in our lives when we were in their shoes.
So then I met Lou. He said, man, I got something for you to do. We said with the gangs, we doing a tournament and the kids out there's unruly. I need you to try to do the same thing we was doing with over at the other program. And that's how I came, and it's been like 10 years now. Basketball is played up in here. The physical part is easy. Lou knows how to maneuver, and he loves people. He knows the music for the youngsters, he knows that. He knows basketball. Matter of fact, this year, they made him a Grand Marshal for the Juneteenth parade. You know, and he wanted to ride on the float with us. I said, why don't you ride with the Grand Marshal? He said, no, I want to ride with my people.
It's so important to be a part of events like this because all of us being black and brown children, we have to continue telling our stories and creating new ways and perspectives because that's what we do as we go on in life. So being a part of the Freedom Riders event, being a part of Juneteenth events, we're embracing our black culture because our black culture is embedded in history in U.S. worldwide. So I feel like we have to tap into those subjects because that's who we are, especially as performers. We have the gift to tell these stories in unique ways, various arts versus acting, singing, dancing.
Right. So to me, that was a sign of, some progress in this world. That ultimately we all need to come together and struggle together. Right. It can't just be black people for black people, Jewish people for Jewish people, Puerto Ricans for Puerto Ricans, Italians for Italians, because we can't win that way. Right. We can only win if we all come together.
Non perché mi piace il giglio, gli altri fiori sprezzerò.
It's the light day that shows me how.
And when the night falls, somebody, ooh, go Nyla, go Nyla, go Nyla, go Nyla.
I'm proud that we're no longer Scan, we're Scan Harbor. And, I got to be the first board president of Scan Harbor, which was phenomenal to me because I grew up watching Boys and Girls Harbor and I was part of Scan, and these were institutions in East Harlem.
And when you celebrate the merger that we've accomplished, and you think about what Jamel and Lou just talked about, I think about the struggles that we had at the harbor, but how beautiful and efficient the merger has been.
We have arts programs and performing arts centers. We have social work services. We have public housing community centers. We have LGBT programs. We work with people who are trying to overcome gangs. When we're all in the same community, right? And these are people who are aligned. The world has changed, and we've changed with it. The Scan of then is not the Scan now. Now we're Scan Harbor.